The man that shot and killed Andre Montgomery from the reality show Welcome to Sweetie Pies has now implicated Andre Montgomery's own uncle, Tim Norman, in the murder and conspiracy. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So I've been following this Tim Norman conspiracy story for a while now, but I never reported on it. Well, now we're getting more confirmation as to the plot and plan that Tim Norman allegedly was behind in the murder of his own nephew. So the man that actually carried out this murder is now implicating not just Tim Norman, but also the woman that was supposed to be the person to lure Andre Montgomery out to be murdered. Let me get into the details, because this story, first of all, is just so crazy to me. And I, till this day, have no idea why Tim Norman would do this to his own family, why he would do this in general, never mind just your own family. Why would you do this? Plotted and planned, according to what they are assessing that happened when it came to leading up to the death of Andre Montgomery. If you don't know, Welcome to Sweetie Pies is one of the reality shows that helped launch the OWN network. All right. Of course, Robbie Montgomery, who was a background singer for Ike and Tina for a very long time, and then started her own, restaurant business. Some of you have been there before and said, oh my God, the food's amazing. But the reality show really catapulted them and the network to the forefront, really helped to keep the lights on at OWN when they were really just starting to build the network. So came this story that people were just like, no, this can't be true. So this is coming from stlouistoday.com, and they said a St. Louis man pleaded guilty Friday to murdering a former local reality TV star for pay while implicating others in the high-profile crime. Travel Anthony Hill, who's 30 years old, was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder for hire and a separate count of murder for hire Friday in the March 2016 killing of the 21-year-old Andre Montgomery Jr. Montgomery was a former star on Welcome to the Sweetie Pies, as I mentioned to you guys before, but also the grandson of Robbie Montgomery. Hill's sentencing is scheduled for September, but both counts carry a mandatory life sentence in prison. In his plea agreement Friday, he admitted to the shooting and killing Montgomery in exchange for $5,000, 2 days after the death. According to an indictment, he was recorded discussing it with his brother on calls from jail. Hill's plea agreement also implicated 2 of the 3 people also charged in the murder for hire plot. According to prosecutors, involved life insurance policies, burner phones, and payouts. So if you don't know the full details of this, apparently Tim Norman had pulled a life insurance policy out on Andre Montgomery, his nephew, a year before the murder. Hill said in his plea agreement that the victim's uncle, James Tim Norman, another star of the TV show, hired Hill because he wanted Montgomery dead. Hill also said in his plea that a woman, Tarika Ellis, was also part of the plot and was hired by Tim Norman to lure Montgomery outside and tell Hill where he was before the shooting. All right. Police in earlier hearings testified that Ellis, an exotic dancer who was working in Memphis at the time, had a previous romantic relationship with Tim Norman. Norman and Ellis are facing conspiracy to commit murder charges with a trial set for September. Federal prosecutors will not seek the death penalty in the case. Tim Norman is also accused in an indictment of attempting to cash in on a $450,000 life insurance policies he took out on his nephew with the help of an insurance agent, YL Yangnam, before the killing. Norman and Yangnam are also charged with wire and mail fraud. Yangnam also faces counts for aggravated identity theft. But here's some more interesting details and the weird things that led up to Andre's death. So according to this report, they're saying a burglary at the home of the family matriarch, Robbie Montgomery, caused the family turmoil months before the killing. Police records obtained in 2020 by the Post-Dispatch showed. Sweetie Pie's owner, Robbie Montgomery, the grandmother of the shooting victim, Andre and Tim Norman's mom, reported a burglary at her North St. Louis County home while she was on vacation in June of 2015. At least $220,000 worth of cash, jewelry, and other items were stolen, according to the police records. The police documents stated that the officers initially investigated Andre Montgomery, the late Andre Montgomery, in the burglary, but after more than 9 months out of town, he met with officers and took a polygraph test March of 2016. At that time, he denied being involved in the theft and told police he thought his uncle, Tim Norman, was behind it. Andre Montgomery explained that he left town to be with a girl and told officers his grandmother was trying to remove Tim Norman from some of Sweetie Pie's business ventures. 4 days later, Montgomery was killed. Investigators never closed the burglary case. According to federal prosecutors, they wrote in an indictment that Tim Norman took out a $450,000 life insurance policies on his nephew a year before the burglary, making him, Tim Norman, the sole beneficiary. First of all, as I said to you before, I couldn't even believe this story when I first heard this story, and then when we were hearing more of the details and what was behind it, and now hearing this other part to it. Was this a revenge situation? Was Tim Norman desperate for money? Was he behind the burglary of his mother's home? Unfortunately, I think more and more details are going to be coming out as we get closer and closer to their trial, which will be happening in September. Guys, I want to know your thoughts on this. First of all, if you look at Tim Norman's mugshot and he's smiling in the mugshot, like, what level of sadistic are you? Smiling in your mugshot after being accused of killing your own nephew for money? It's a cold, cold world out there when you can't even trust your family. Guys, let's continue this conversation below. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.